Well, good afternoon. This is Leon Davis. It is 2 p.m. Central Time in St. Louis, Missouri. Overcast afternoon. And, there we go. I want to thank you for joining me. It is Saturday, February the 8th. And I'm Leon Davis. And I've been trying to get back into doing a regular podcast. And just fortunately, this week I was able to at least get up and going. I don't anticipate the podcast to go a full 30 minutes or anything, but we'll see how it goes. Over the past week, there's been some controversy dealing with Gayle King and CBS, and I'm going to weigh in on that, and that's coming up right now.
Welcome to Altitude Adjustment.
Again, thank you very much for joining me. This past week, so for a couple of weeks, there's been quite a bit of buzz around Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey. And this past week, some things happened that I thought were noteworthy, really needed to be addressed in a deeper manner. So Gayle King did an interview with Lisa Leslie regarding Kobe, who's recently passed. And my best out to his family and his friends and those affected by that. And I could add a lot of people to that list. I was one of the people that actually, felt stunned and hurt by hearing that we had lost him, and it was tragic. And it was made worse when I found out that his daughter was on board with him. We've lost a couple of great people, and so we mourn. Unfortunately, our mourning has sprout into something much more sinister. I think sinister, and I want to use the word sinister because I think some of it is premeditated, while some of it is just a reaction to our loss and feeling that other people are not sharing in our grief as much as we are. And so some of it is sinister, and some of it is just happens that people grieve that way, and they tend to strike out. So this past week, and one of the things that's most important is, I think when you talk about something, is that you do the best that you can to try to familiarize yourself with the topic. You're not going to become an expert. No one's going to become an expert in a few days about anything. And so you try to immerse yourself in what's going on and the particulars about the topic that you're going to talk about. The interesting thing about this is that in the current time, it is so easy for people to have a voice, to load up a camera, just as I'm doing, set themselves a Facebook page or a YouTube page or a MySpace page or whatever, Twitter, so on and so forth, and have their voice heard and speak up. And what that has done, while it has increased the ability for people to have a voice, it has also increased the probability that you're going to miss some information, because so many people are providing feedback and input, and it's not possible for any one person or for themselves be able to gather all of that information and be able to look at it in a timely manner and be able to then formulate what it is they want to talk about and present it in a very worthwhile fashion. I don't have a research team, and that's one of the things I was hoping to eventually implement, is being able to do more research, see more information and data that's available on a particular topic or subject. So for this particular show, I watched a small clip from the Ricky Smiley show. I saw the input from a video from Michael Eric Dyson, Dr. Boyce Watkins, Snoop Dogg, which I'm going to talk more about. And I don't want this to seem like it's a teaser. I don't want to put it first because I don't want to start on a negative vibe. So obviously, I don't appreciate what had happened. But coming up, I will address what I saw as far as Snoop Dogg's video, which is only 40 seconds long. I also read what Bill Cosby tweeted, and a Dr. Shauna Etienne, and she had a 1 hour video, a little over 1 hour, giving her take on the topic also. So I tried to include as much diversity of thought in what I was hearing from people, and then try to present what I thought would be a good take on all of that. So Gayle King did a video, or did an interview with Lisa Leslie, and one of the questions that she asked had to do with, or a couple of questions maybe that she had to do with something that happened in Kobe Bryant's past. Now, let me first say CBS and Gayle King did the right thing. CBS had a black anchor interviewing a black interviewee about a black personality, so that everybody had an opportunity to tell the story as they saw fit, understanding the culture of all of the people involved. They could not have done anything differently and been better, been more right. Now, a lot of people take issue with Gayle King on some other topics, which they may have piled onto this particular topic. So one of the things that people had talked about was that she should not have brought the topic up. But Gayle is a news person. Her job is to get to the news that is going to help people make a decision. It is quite conceivable that she would bring the topic up as one of the people, one news person earlier in the week had texted just references to that particular event in Kobe's life without context of all of the rest of his life. Kobe at the time could not defend himself because he had passed. And so you can't, so doing what happened, presenting only one issue out of a lifetime of an individual brings that topic front and center. And it would only natural that Gayle, having an opportunity to talk to someone who was very close to Kobe Bryant, who knew him well and loved him, could give a take on it that would be closer to Kobe Bryant being able to weigh in. Unfortunately, he couldn't weigh in himself, but at least if you look at the short clip of the interview with Lisa Leslie, she handled herself very professionally and very well. Now, you may say she was stunned by the question, and that may be the case, but asking the question was not out of line. If another person who had died, who had allegations against them, if it's somebody we didn't like, we would say, well, why didn't you bring that up? This was the totality of that person's life. Why would you not do that? We have situations now, and there may be and maybe making a little bit of a leap to draw the conclusion, draw a comparison here, but everybody wants to say, or I've heard many people say, it was the wrong time to ask the question. There wasn't enough grieving time. They didn't add that. I'm paraphrasing, or I'm gonna just give my take on it. That they felt that they had to protect Kobe Bryant's legacy. And here's the problem I think I have with that. We have, in our society, have complained about people whitewashing history, removing the parts of history that that don't reflect well, that we don't want to look at, or that people don't want us to look at, and we remove that, and we take that out. And if Gail had not asked that question, would she not have been doing the exact same thing? Taking out, whitewashing history, taking out those things that we don't want to look at. Right, wrong, or indifferent about how the incident was settled, right, wrong, or indifferent about how you feel about the accuser, it was an event in his life. Not only was it an event in his life, it changed how he behaved. It was impacting who he was as a man. It made him a better man. And to ignore it ignores a key part of his life and who he was as a man. And our challenges are what make us stronger or push us towards defeat. He took that opportunity. He took that hit, made his life better for it, and it affected the people around him because he was a better person. So we are not the sum total of our mistakes, but we are the sum total of how we deal with our mistakes, how we deal with adversity in our life. And Lisa had an opportunity to at least address that and help other people see how it helped him grow. Now, a lot of people, so when Kobe first came into the league, Kobe did not meet a pass he liked. He believed only in himself and his accomplishments. But you can see over his progression that he learned to use the people around him and make them better. And that's what usually we want out of our superstars, is for them to help make everyone around them better. If we ignored the fact that he did not pass when he first came into the league, and that he was very selfish and he believed only in himself, then we don't give people an opportunity to see that we all can change, that we all can benefit by reflecting on ourselves and growing from that. So it was, whether you like it or not, which is going to be how you're going to respond, but it was, in my opinion, my humble opinion, fine that Gayle King asked that question and approached that issue. Because at some point, someone would have said, you didn't do it. You know, why didn't you? Were you trying to cover up something? You know, why didn't you address that? Because the issue was already brought out in public. It had already been brought out. So her addressing it was actually more in line of not letting the story rest on a negative and allowing people to look at the positive that came out of it. Without Gayle being the person making the positive comments. It is not, we would not anticipate or expect our news people to slant the story, to build the story the way they want it to, because that's part of the problem that the media is having right now, is that there's a belief that that they're biased. And Gail's effort shows an attempt to avoid bias by not avoiding tough questions or issues and getting inside herself. She knew, she had to know that that was a tough question. She had to know that people were going to get angry about that. She may not have been able to anticipate the amount of pushback that she got, but she had to know. And she probably worked as best she could to try to address the issue without seeming biased or taking a side on any part of the issue. Now, CBS, so Gail got angry at CBS because she felt that they released a clip that was salacious. That's what networks do. That's what network news is about. It's about finding the part of the story that's going to get you interested in watching the news or watching the interview. Lisa Leslie is no novice at interviews and talking. And what is it that's going to bring people to the conversation, or watch the conversation that Lisa Leslie had? Is it just because they're talking about Kobe? Or is there something in there that's going to have people come and take a look and say that there's more to this than just some do-good, feel-good story about somebody that we love? So the difficulty I have is that so many people seem to want to do the exact same thing that we've admonished others for, and that is not bringing up topics that are uncomfortable, avoiding the tough questions, avoiding looking at things in a way that makes us a little uncomfortable. But that's a part of informing us, is that it doesn't allow us to ignore the things that make us a little uncomfortable. At the point that you become comfortable with everything that is on the news or that someone is saying, is the minute you lose objectivity. You lose your ability to gain from what you're listening, because it only then at that point is reinforcing whatever it is that you think or believe. You're not being challenged. Growth comes from being challenged. Growth comes from learning from mistakes. Growth comes from uncomfortableness. So I think CBS should not be held in any. They have done their share of things to be uncomfortable about. How they handled the how they've handled some of the allegations within their organization about sexual harassment and the work environment. Some of the things dealing with facts and research on stories and people that they've hired for one reason or another. So they have built up, which they're going to. When you're in the public eye, you're not going to be able to please everyone. And when you do something, one person may like it, another person may hate it, and then there's some resentment that's going to be built up, and In this instance, I don't see where CBS was at fault. I don't see where Gayle King was at fault. I would encourage Gayle King to not be so harsh on. Salacious is what they do. I don't think it was salacious. I think it was an attempt to show that this was not a patsy interview. This was not a let's ignore all the things that we don't want to see. It's an opportunity for us to reflect on the man as a whole, and not just the part of him that we wanted to love. So let's see. As I mentioned, I watched Michael Eric Dyson's support for Gayle King, and what I felt about it was he talked about her off-camera work, because she has been lambasted for seeming to attack black men, and he felt that giving people logic and reason about her off-camera work would somehow ease some of the backlash. And the only thing I ain't gonna say the only thing, but one thing I'm going to say about that is, when people are being emotional, logic and reason is probably going to be the last thing that is going to calm them. It is probably going to be the last thing that they're going to respond to. And the other aspect of that is, by presenting her off-camera information as public information, which I'm sure a lot of it maybe is, but it allows people to look at her through a lens that may be considered bias. Now, news people are people just like everyone else, and they should be allowed to have political ideas. They should be allowed to support charities, support causes, and still may be able to maintain their objectivity. We don't, I think, at this particular point in our society, tend to, as a whole, give them that opportunity, to give them that space. Because one of the first things will come up is, if someone doesn't like what you did, they will bring up who you contributed to. They will focus in on whatever information that they can put forward to show that you're biased in a particular way. So while I think his attempt was to show people that she's not the monster that many people said she was, I think he opened up another potential problem for her down the road, which would be to compromise her objectivity. News people try to be as objective as possible. Of course, there's going to be many opportunities to reflect on what you've done to ensure that you're more objective the next time down. And so I have, at this point, no reason to believe that she's not an objective person, and that she works hard at her objectivity to present it to, that she present to a broad audience and not focus in on a narrow audience. So my concern is, by the amount of pressure, we could be creating the monster that we say we don't like, which is trying to force media people to look through the lens that we want them to look at, and present facts and figures and ideas that we want, rather than them providing information, and then we adjust our way of thinking based on the facts and the information. I'm going to end on this. Snoop Dogg did a video. It was 40 seconds, and I went to 3 different websites to watch the video to make sure that I was watching a legitimate video and not something doctored or edited. I even went to his Instagram page and watched the video on his Instagram page. As I mentioned earlier, I listened to the Rickey Smiley Show, and he was a guest on the Rickey Smiley Show. This was a 7-minute clip, and they talked about his conversation or his video that he posted. Out of all the people that I've mentioned, no one of the videos that I saw or the information that I saw, no one chastised enough the way he spoke to that woman. In no universe, nowhere on this planet, to no one, especially a woman, is that acceptable. And he ended the video on a threat: "We will come and get you." Because he disagreed with her actions. Not that she struck anyone, not that she did any physical harm to anyone, not that she even intended to do harm emotionally or mentally to anyone. And anyone that believes that this good woman, who is a mother, would intentionally try to inflict emotional pain on anyone, I don't think is looking at the situation objectively. I am disappointed as a black man that another black man would speak to a black woman that way for any reason. I'm going to end it on this one. I want to thank you very much for taking the opportunity to join me this afternoon. As this concludes the episode, please, the video podcast is available on YouTube. You can rewatch it there. All you need to do is do a search for Lions Den STL. The audio podcast is available on Stitcher.com, Anchor.fm, and the iTunes Store, the Google Music Play Store, almost anywhere you can get your podcasts. Please consider supporting the podcast. You can visit anchor.fm/altitude-adjustment2. The internet is powered by your likes, shares, and comments. So please like, share, and comment on this and other episodes where you find me, because it does matter. Remember, always be cool, be calm, and above all, be careful. Look out for the other guy, because they may not be looking out for you.